Oh, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you guys are joining me today. And Kayleigh Mcenany needs to have a position in the Trump White House, maybe as press secretary again, because this woman is brilliant. She did a phenomenal job as press secretary during Trump's last term, and I think she would be an awesome one again. She absolutely devastates the ABC moderators and Kamala Harris in this epic takedown. Let's go ahead and take a watch on how Kayleigh Mcenany handles business here against these people.
We begin with the presidential debate between former President Trump and Vice President Harris. The debate sparking intense backlash over how the moderators appeared to team up with Harris to take on Trump. There was not, listen to this, a single fact check for Kamala Harris. All as the ABC moderators targeted Trump with tougher questions, more follow-ups, and nonstop corrections, challenging him in real time on his statements from abortion to crime.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed. President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. Leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
Oh,
but
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker.
I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election.
So, last night ABC had a choice. They could be credible, solid, probing, fair debate moderators, or they could be partisan activists. And they chose the latter. And I sat there watching this debate wondering, where's the question about the tie-breaking vote for Kamala on inflation, on the American Rescue Plan? I sat there thinking to myself, where's the question about taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries from illegal immigrants? It didn't exist. I sat there, and we have a visual aid for this one. Where's the question about her running mate, babies born alive after abortions being left to die before changing the reporting requirements? And we'll scroll this as well, where are the questions about every single one of these policies, Harris, these radical policies? I believe one or two were mentioned casually. None of Harris's past policies mentioned.
Not by the moderators. I mean, Donald Trump was bringing up things. He was the one, and then he was fact-checked for bringing up items about this, particularly with the subject of abortion, which when you watch was one of his strongest moments, and he filled his entire time. Like he was prepared for that question, so on and so forth. She hits him then with IVF. She doesn't get fact-checked for not knowing that he talks about that all the time and gets quite a bit of coverage for it. So the moderators, again, are not even following up and saying, Mrs. Vice President or Madam Vice President, why didn't you know that? That's been out there. You hit the former president incorrectly there. No, they didn't do any of that. They actually did the fact checking with her about Trump. That was the clip that you just, and by the way, he just said this. Well, you know that, Kamala Harris. So, I mean, it was really interesting. I think at the end of the day, I don't know how much this moves the needle for people because we didn't learn anything about her. And one of my guests on Voters' Voices said it best last hour. Trump would have really done well for himself to move his closing argument into every segment of that debate. Mm-hmm. Like, as much as he hit the border, which is intensely important with people across the country, we know that from polling and just from talking with him, as I do. But it would have helped for him to say, so why haven't you done this in 3.5 years? Like, literally, with every single moment, he could have done that. And he had time to do it because they didn't do follow-ups with her.
Yeah, follow-ups. Some were necessary. In fact, we put together the tall tales of Kamala Harris for you. Let's take a listen to this.
A detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured. and some died. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
So you just heard Charlottesville and bloodbath. You would think David Muir, Lindsay Davis, hopped up on some fact-checking caffeine, would have brought this up. Left-wing Snopes fact-check. We believe in facts here, so let's actually bring up the facts they failed to. Marie, Snopes, no, Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. We'll bring up PolitiFact after that. Joe Biden claimed Trump said there would be a bloodbath if he is not elected. Trump was discussing the auto industry. Why would they not fact-check her on this?
Well, look, I will answer that question by saying I was on with my friend Mark Thiessen last night, who's a conservative Republican, and he made these same points about ABC. But then what he said was, if we're complaining about the refs, we're losing. So do Republicans wish there had been more fact checks of Kamala Harris? Sure. I would point out that Donald Trump got more than 10 minutes more than Kamala Harris to speak last night. So he was given a lot more time to speak by the numbers. And he had opportunities to use that time however he wanted. And the challenge was he used that time to take every bait that Kamala Harris put in front of him. He spewed lie after lie after lie after lie. And I'm glad that the moderators did fact check some of them. And I think that the American people last night saw, setting aside what ABC did or didn't do, I think they saw two very different candidates. And a Donald Trump who, when put under pressure from Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden. This isn't June 25th when we were sitting here on this couch the day after talking about that. When he was put on the spot, he lied and lied and lied.
You mentioned lie a lot, but was it truthful for her to bring up a Charlottesville hoax, a bloodbath hoax? Was that a lie?
I'm going to say, I don't think those are hoaxes. I have lived in Charlottesville. I was not there then.
But that is not what he said.
I have watched that over and over again. And it's not just that, Kayleigh. There are so many times he has winked and nodded to white supremacists throughout his career. It's not in a vacuum here. He has told the Proud Boys that he supports things they do. He has dined with their leader. This isn't in a vacuum here.
He has denounced white supremacy repeatedly.
While he embraces it repeatedly. And again, if we're talking about politics and whether, to Harris's point, it will move the needle, we're sitting here today talking about how close Donald Trump is to white supremacists after a night.
No,
I think that's what you're talking about.
That's what you're talking about.
A lot of the American people are today. And look, if we're talking about,
Emily,
whether people are eating cats and whether we are talking today about
here's
him
a fact.
going down
That is what you are talking about, white supremacy and cat eating. The American people, Emily, I believe, wanted to see
that's not what the focus
how
group showed.
They would lower costs at the grocery store, how Kamala Harris would lower housing costs, how she would secure the border, how she would end two wars that, by the way, were created on her watch. They weren't thinking about cats and white supremacy. They got no answers from Kamala Harris on that.
Look, I have to say that the cronyism occurring between the ABC moderators and the Democrat Party was on full display last night. It did no American any favors, and it certainly did not do former President Donald Trump any type of neutral or respectful platform. I will say, however, that it's unsurprising. And the unfortunate aspect of it was the lost opportunities and the missed opportunities on the president's part to step in that gap, to unfortunately lift the weight that we can't depend on the media and the moderators to do. And what I saw last night was a very polished package of lies on one hand, and then a more emphatic, earnest delivery of the truth on the other. And at the end of the day, if you are voting on personalities, then that might have moved the needle a certain bit. But if you are voting on policies, and I pray to God every American is, then I hope that you look beneath the veneer of someone who memorized scripts and someone who was coached perfectly and someone who absorbed somehow a lot of information that we haven't ever seen coming out of their mouth for quite some time or ever. That you can look beyond that to see what would actually happen upon a vote that leads one of them to be in the commander-in-chief's seat. Because at the end of the day, that is what terrified me, that people will be swayed by the polish aided by the ABC moderators.
And they're already voting.
There
in
are
some battleground
that
states.
is right.
Pennsylvania.
And if you're illegal, you're voting a million times too. So.
Yeah, look, if you're looking for just poise, did Kamala Harris exceed expectations? Yeah, she probably did. But I also find her to be a total fake. because she does not stand. She says, oh, my principles haven't changed. Oh, really? Then why wasn't she pressed? Why wasn't there a follow-up from those so-called moderators? They were not moderators. That's far too generous.
Activists.
The very first question is, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Well, I grew up a little girl. Like, that has nothing to do with solving America's problems. I don't think she will stand the test of time on fact-checking if people actually want to do this. And when she touts her plan to fight inflation and do it, I defy you. Go look. There is no plan. There is no actual plan to do this. I don't even think she can define inflation, let alone solve the problem. So at the end of the day, voters are going to look back at this and say, yeah, okay, she had a decent, but what are they going to do to help the price of gas? How are we going to deal with inflation? How are my kids going to be able to afford a mortgage and get into a home? And to that end, I don't think she did anything. I think Democrats, like, are going to be dancing in the halls because they're really happy because it wasn't as abysmal as actually Joe Biden was. But that is an absolute floor. But does she have solutions? When she can deal with things overseas? I don't buy it, and I don't think America is either.
I did want to just fact check one thing. It was 41 minutes to 36.
I think 43 to 36.
I'm reading 41,
Yeah.
but maybe that's been updated
Well,
from
but
like
anyways,
9 different sources.
Trump talked more. He was given more opportunity from the moderators, in part because they were fact checking him in real
Neither
time.
one of those, by the way,
And-
it's a
and no-
10-minute differential.
No
That
fact
was my
checks.
point.
No fact checks for Kamala Harris. You know, we saw a debate hosted by left-wing activists. We'll see if it moves the needle. One thing it did not do was restore faith in the media at a historic low.
Yeah, Kayleigh Mcenany nails it. And of course, the insufferable the unsufferable activists they have there on the show didn't do herself any favors trying to sit there, suck up to Kamala Harris and the ABC moderators. Anyway, did you guys watch the debate last night? What did you guys think? Who won the debate? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, you guys can follow me on my social medias. Would you like to see Kayleigh Mcenany back in the White House? Let me know that in the comments as well. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.